the time has come for our songwriter panel. Would you just look at this stage and all of this incredible talent, these wonderful people? My goodness. The amount of experience and inspiration here is just amazing. They're all from very different corners of the music community, and they bring such a broad range of insight and craft and perspective. We're just so incredibly lucky to have you all here. I'm going to do some quick introductions. I'm going to start with Casey here. Award-winning country artist Casey Barnes is one of Australia's most decorated modern country stars. In 2025, he won the Golden Guitar for Contemporary Country Album of the Year with Mayday, adding to multiple Golden Guitars, APRA Music Awards, an ARIA Award, and an ARIA Gold Record for God Took His Time on You. Renowned for electrifying live shows, he headlines tours and appears at major festivals. Internationally, he's performed at Stagecoach and CMA Fest, breaking ground for Australian artists in the US, with 15 country radio number ones and 65 million streams. Amazing. Also, just announced is that his new single, Made for This, which is out next week, has been booked for the NRL theme song this year. Huge. So good.
Thank you, NRL.
Casey, your songs are so catchy and they feel so true to you as a person. I'm really looking forward to us learning about your songwriting journey and career today. Also, you should know that you have been described by a few of my colleagues as the nicest guy in the music industry. So, little fun fact for you there.
I don't know what to say there.
Well, stoked to have you.
It's all lies. It's all lies. No, I'm super excited to be here too, and awesome. With these incredibly talented people and these incredibly talented people here, I think we're going to have a great day. It's going to be awesome.
Awesome, thank you. Next is Michelle Levings, aka GLVES. GLVES is a First Nations alt pop artist based in Meanjin, of Kororeg, Fijian and Polynesian heritage. Known for producing her Blacktronica sound, cinematic alt pop fused with visual art and raw storytelling, she creates immersive work that explores identity, resilience and belonging. She's performed at Dark Mofo, Splendour in the Grass and Big Sound, and has recently become an APRA AMCOS ambassador, which is very exciting for us. Her debut EP, Belonging, arrived in 2025. Michelle, I'm someone who gets distracted very easily, but your music pulls me in, like, immediately, and I've often found myself sort of just, like, staring into nothing because I'm so focused on your song, and I just love it so much. I love that your music makes me do that. And I'm really looking forward to hear, or, you know, for all of us to hear about how you create today. So thank you so much for being here. It's awesome to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to share some ideas.
So good. Kojo Owusu Ansah, aka Citizen K, thank you so much for being here. Born in Ghana, raised in Canberra, Kojo is a two-time ARIA-nominated artist and music producer. Beginning in 2014, he'd been recording, producing and mixing his own songs, which quickly turned into doing the same for others. In 2018, he pivoted his focus more to producing and mixing and has worked on music spanning from hip-hop and rock to Chinese opera and hymns. Kojo's drive is simply to be a part of creating great music with minimal boundaries. He's also the founder of Lake City Records, a studio in Canberra. Kojo, it seems to me that you are a very dynamic and curious music creator. I love how across all of your work, from your first album as Citizen K to your 2023 album, which we'll talk about, and to your work with others, it brings up so much for me. Like, I feel fun, but then I feel deep and then I'll get goosebumps somewhere, and then I'll be like so excited by an arrangement or production decision that you've made. And yeah, I just think hearing your perspective is going to be so interesting as well. So thank you so much for being here. It's awesome.
Thanks for having me.
It's awesome. Milan Ring, touted as a figurehead in Australia's R&B renaissance by the Sydney Morning Herald, and I am with that. And here is your coffee.
In the middle of your intro.
Thank you.
I love this.
Queen.
Timed that intentionally.
Yes. Oh, so good.
I feel like a diva. Also, I hate that quote, but thanks, Sydney Morning Herald. But let's keep going.
I love it. It's good, but thank you, Sydney Morning Herald. Milan is an accomplished composer, producer, mix engineer, and musical director. The ARIA-nominated artist explores the realms of alternative and electronic music, crafting ethereal vocal arrangements while centering the guitar. She's collaborated with Questlove, Sumper the Great, and has shared stages with Leon Bridges, Arlo Parks, and Masego. I have had the pleasure of working a little bit with Milan through the APRA AMCOS Songmakers program, of which she was such an incredible mentor, which we'll get to later. But as a huge fan of R&B, I just love your songs so much. Your melodies, production decisions, arrangements, they're so clever. And I often find, like, when I first start listening to a song of yours, I get like so excited by the entry of a song. You know that feeling that you get when you first listen to a song and there's like something right there that you feel? I often get that from your music. So thank you so much for being here. Let's give Milan a round of applause. And Sam, hello. Sam Buckingham, I was just saying, I feel like for so long we were supposed to meet, you know? We've like travelled in different circles, you know? It's great to be right next to you. Sam's 2022 album, Dear John, debuted at number 2 on the AIR Independent Album Charts. She's gone on to lap the country 6 times on sold-out headline tours. She's also toured alongside Ben Lee, Casey Chambers, Tim Friedman, and Kate Miller-Heidke. Obsessed with lyrics, Sam sees songwriting as a way to connect for the truth of who we are and to each other. Fun fact, Sam actually came to our regional sessions in Lismore last year as an attendee. Now she's back as a speaker and mentor. How good. Sam's music for me feels so personal but also really universal, and there's a sense of real like care in how a story is told. You manage to write from a very personal place, but also leave space for listeners to sort of step into the song themselves. So yeah, I mean, I'm just so happy that all of you are here. I think we are all so lucky for all of you to be sharing your experience with us and to be running workshops. It's just amazing. Can we please welcome everyone here? Okay, songwriting is just so huge. Songwriting can help us find a way back to ourselves, to each other. It's deeply personal, and no two people write, hear, or experience songs in the same way. And that difference is what makes it so powerful. Even when it begins alone, songwriting doesn't exist in isolation. It grows through shared rooms, conversations, and moments of recognition. Small points of connection in how we write, how we listen, and how community is formed around music. So I thought we'd just start on something really light, which is intention. So to the group, how intentional are you when you begin writing a song? What does that intention look or sound like to you? And are you ever surprised by where a song takes you as you're writing it? Who would like to start? Anyone?
Everyone's afraid to start.
Yeah.
I'll start because this is actually something that's really important to
Please.
me. For me, there's two ways that it works. Either there's absolutely no intention and a song falls from the sky and I just have to catch it as quickly as I can, which is definitely the way that I started songwriting. I think it just kind of naturally started occurring, and so I followed that thread. But as I've been writing for many years now and really trying to refine my craft, I find now I can set an intention without any lyric ideas, any melody ideas, and then sit down to write that song in the direction that I want it to be. And since refining that particular skill, I think my songs have gotten like insanely better. And that doesn't mean that great songs can't come from falling from the sky. They absolutely can. But one of my biggest questions now is, what is it that I really need and want to say in this moment? And I start with that. I start with that really core personal need, and I try to like mine that as much as I can. And then inevitably the song will go in the direction that it needs to go, and I believe that every song has an energy of its own, and we need to trust that, and we need to serve the song. I'm not here to like write the best song that I can for myself. I'm here to help the song that wants to be written be written. But if I come from that intention and I trust that that intention comes half from me and half from the song itself, and then I follow the songs, whatever the song is telling me, then I think that's when the best song comes out.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's pretty much right on the money, I think.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, so to the group again then, have you learned that there are certain things that you need in order to spark inspiration? Like, do you have a particular space, feeling or routine? You know, do you have to write every day? Do you wait for something to arrive? You know, because I think this might take a little bit of time for someone to understand what they need to do that. So yeah, is there anything that you know that you have to spark that inspiration?
For me, the most important thing is just listening to myself. I think we're all so unique and have different energy levels, you know, and are feeling different things on different days at different times. Some people are morning people, some people are, you know, night owls, whatever. Like, I think there really is no right or wrong personally, like, and I think it's learning to really like listen to yourself and what you need and what calls you. For example, for me, I can write anywhere, but I think I also need like things, you know, I don't know, my phone kind of off and certain things to switch off. It can be in the morning, it could be at the night, it doesn't really matter, or it could be with the right collaborators. Or, you know, I definitely find myself if I'm away or, you know, somewhere new, or in nature, I'm often inspired to kind of start something. But yeah, I don't tend to do this like go to work every day thing, and I know a lot of songwriters do, and I really respect that and admire that. Like, that is a whole different like amount of energy to have kind of that amount of creative energy every day. For me, I need like input. I need to go to gigs. I need to go see art. I need to like go and just live life, and then find the moment that I'm like, okay, I want to sit now, and maybe it's just writing some lyrics, or maybe it's making, you know, just playing guitar, or maybe it's, you know, producing a beat, or maybe it's very intentionally like, okay, I really feel like I've got a lot I want to say. I'm going to book a studio, or I don't know, work with a friend or something like that, and carve out some time, because that's the other thing. Like, I think it is important to carve out time because there are so many distractions in our lives. So yeah, but whatever that looks like to you, I guess that's my kind of answer to that.
I was going to add to that. It's funny, the older that I get and the more that I've, you know, developed as a songwriter over the years, I think it's something, like, I'm not a super religious person or anything like that, but the older I've got, the more I believe when it comes to songwriting, there's something else going on. Now, whether it's a spiritual thing or you tap into something, it's pretty magic when it happens. And I can give you an example of that. A few years ago, my father-in-law, who I was super, super close with, he lived an hour from here in Yamba, and he grew up as a fisherman. He was a simple guy, beautiful man. We were super close, and he passed away really suddenly from a heart attack, and it was just the worst news. Like, you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to losing somebody, and hit our family, you know, my wife and everyone. It was a big deal. And the next week we had the service, and his favourite song of all time was Desperado by the Eagles. So we got a local guy to come along and play the song at the service, and it was really beautiful. And the week after that, I was booked to go down to Melbourne to finish my album at the time, and it was like, do I want to go? Do I not want to go? I don't really feel like I'm in the right space to go and do this. And my wife said, no, you've got to go down and do it. And I got in the studio with the two guys that I write with a lot, Michael Painter and Michael De Lorenzo from M Squared, super talented guys. And they both said to me, you know, how do you feel about writing a song about what's just happened? And I initially said, I don't know if I can go there because it's still pretty raw, and I just don't know. And we tried to write something, and I guess the message behind this story is on the day, it just didn't work. Nothing came out that I connected with, that I thought this is doing justice to how I feel. And yeah, so we left it. And I think the message is, you know, don't force songwriting if it doesn't feel like it's happening in the moment on the day. So we left it and we parked it. The next day we came back into the studio, and Michael Painter and the boys, they didn't know any of this backstory. They knew that he'd passed away, but they didn't know anything else. And so Michael Painter has sat down at the piano, and of all of the thousands of songs that have ever been written, he starts playing Desperado, the first song he plays, right? And I just lost the plot. I'm like in tears, and he's like, what's going on? I said, that's just freaking me out, because that's the song that we just played at his service. And then it just segued into this beautiful song we wrote straight after that just fell from the sky, and it was like he was trying to get a message through me and that song to go, it's okay, you know, I was meant to go, it's all good. And we wrote this song called Set Sail. I don't play it very often because it's so hard to play, but it was a song that just fell out of nowhere. And yeah, sometimes magic things can happen like that.
So beautiful, and such a, yeah, so true. Like, don't let something, don't force it if you're not in the right space for it, you know. Wow. It's really magic, hey?
And it's weird. I don't play it often because I find it so hard to actually sing the song. But when I do, inevitably there's always somebody in the crowd. Like, I remember we were doing some shows in the States a couple of years ago, and I was like, do I put this in the set? Do I not? And I did for a couple of shows. And every time I played it, at the end of the night, there would be somebody in the crowd that was like, I wasn't meant to be here tonight because I just lost my brother or someone, but I must have been meant to come to hear this song. So there's a lot of weird, powerful stuff going on. You know, I think, whether you're a believer or not, I think there is.
So good, thank you. Kojo, do you find that you have to be in the studio? Like, what do you need to sort of get inspiration? Do you need a space? Do you need a feeling? What do you need?
As long as the environment is as judgment-free as possible, I think that's all that really matters. For me, the studio has become that place. It's almost become a bit of a therapy office for a lot of people. And that's been really intentional, just like whatever I can do to facilitate the space so that when you walk in, even if we've never met before, inevitably within 10 minutes we get really deep. And because of that, I've actually started looking into like psychology and like therapy stuff, because I've always known it's been part of what we do as writers and creators, but I think I'm more curious than ever about it. And yeah, whether it's the studio itself or wherever it is, as long as we can practice judgment of each other and judgment of ourselves, usually something comes out of it, and it doesn't have to be something great. We actually also encourage like making bad music in the space as well.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's judgment free, I think it works out.
That's so good. And judgment-free of yourself, I think, is a big thing too.
That's probably the biggest one. Yeah.
Did you want to?
Yeah, just off the back of that, because I like you saying, like, making bad things intentionally, because I think also there's a time and place to just also push things out, but not expect that to be your, like, you know, most best heartfelt song that you're going to perform all the time. But, like, it's like a muscle, I guess, as well, because I know, you know, we also can't just sit around and wait for this moment to fall from the sky. I think, like, sharpening the tool so that when something is falling from the sky, so to speak, your muscles are, like, ready to go. Like, you know exactly what patch to pull up, and you know exactly what guitar to play or whatever, you know. So I think that's also important, and part of that can be like playing games, like just like put a timer on for like 30 minutes or an hour and make the shittest thing you can make. I do that sometimes.
So
some of them are good, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them aren't, but yeah.
Thank you all so much. So good. I want to talk a little bit about lyrics for a little bit. You know, we're all, you know, most of us are songwriters here. Everyone has a very different approach to lyric writing. And Michelle, you seem to have a lot of clarity in your lyrics, and when you repeat lines, it drives a feeling or a message even more. Like the chorus for Lost, I think really kind of articulates that exact feeling. Do you mind if I read the lyrics?
Sure.
So it's, but what do I want? I'm lost when everything I see is something that I'm not. I try to fit in, but it all just feels so wrong. I'm lost, so what? And I love it so much because when you feel lost, you sort of feel like you're going around in circles, you know? And that's how those lyrics feel. So what is your approach? Like, do you write something and then edit it, and do you know immediately when a line is right? Like, how do you approach that? Do you take time, distance?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of so many different things. But with that particular song, I was thinking about the feeling of, I guess there's a nihilism to that song, because I'm just kind of pushing into that feeling of like being lost and like, I guess, not being able to find a way out of it and accepting that you're in that situation. A lot of my songs tend to be like, I guess, meditations on feelings, so I can kind of release them. So they are kind of mantra-like in that sense, because I'm of the headspace of, if you can push into a feeling and articulate it as best you can, then you can kind of understand it and then release it, and then figuratively actually release it. Like, you actually release it to the world and be like, okay, I've kind of moved on now, you know, to a certain degree. So that's kind of the whole idea with that. Yeah, but yeah, with Lost, it was written post-referendum, straight after the 2023 referendum. So there was all of those kinds of feelings of like, you know, it would be good if someone like gave a shit or whatever. So those are kind of the ideas that were a part of that. But it's a longer kind of story arc, you know, around kind of identity and things like that, that sort of played into that song.
I love the way that you explain that as the way that you use writing for yourself to like express something and then like let that go. Do you ever find that sometimes a song or writing something, like you have an initial intention and then at the end, or maybe you don't even at the start, and then you finish something and you're like, oh, whoa, like I didn't realise I needed that.
Yeah, generally I'm kind of like, I get started and I'm like, wow, you're super sad. Because yeah, most of the time you're kind of just getting on with your day and you're just doing what you need to do to survive and live or whatever. And then when you sit down and get reflective, you're like, there's a lot of stuff in here that you haven't really thought about. Damn.
Yeah.
So generally my music's pretty melancholy in that way.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I think we use it as like a form of expression, which also then, you know, inherently just connects with people. I have a question for everyone about lyric writing, but also melodies and sort of like when you're stuck for something. Casey, your songs have such like emotive melodies, and they're so catchy, like they carry the feeling of the story that you're telling. Like Mayday, for example, you repeat the word Mayday, and the melody that you sing is almost like you're mimicking the way someone might actually call for Mayday. It's very clever. So I'm just wondering, do lyrics influence the melody for you, or is it the other way round? Is it both?
Yeah, good question. I think sometimes it's a combination of both. I think with me, everyone writes in a different way. One of the things that I'm sure a lot of the guys up here would agree, I love collaborating with other songwriters. It always brings out the best in you. You always learn something at every single write that you go to. And with Mayday, it was one of those examples. I was in Nashville. I'd wanted to write with Morgan Evans. A lot of you guys would know who he is. He's someone that I really respect and had some great success over in the States. And another girl called Danielle Blakey, who also lives over there as well. And yeah, we just wanted a fun party song that was going to be great to play live. And Morgan came up with this idea of we wanted to talk about meeting a girl, but just not the same old cliche, crappy, song that's been written, a million times. Why don't we talk about it being like this Mayday, Mayday call, like you're going down, you've seen this girl, and it's over. I'm hook, line, and sinker, and it's just a fun song, and it's nearly like a nursery rhyme, like the melody. And sometimes that's it's a good thing to lean into. Is you want melodies that are going to be memorable, and that song is probably a good example of that. And I'm big on melodies. I'm big on the song, and I want it to stick in people's heads. And then I find the lyrics sometimes will flow after that.
Beautiful. I'm actually the other way around.
Yeah, everyone's different. It's weird. I love Elton John and Bernie Taupin as a great example of everyone's got strengths. I'm a melody, and I love writing the songs, and then the lyrics sometimes come second for me. Whereas other people will be like, I've written the song, I've written all the lyrics, but I don't have the music yet. So yeah, it's interesting.
So from that, let's say that you're stuck for a line, or stuck for where you think the melody should go next. Do you have any tools or exercises or tricks that you sort of play with yourself almost to overcome that, or to move through that moment? Do you have anything that you use?
I just sing a shitty melody until it stops being shitty.
Really good.
If I have something that I know I want to say and it doesn't fit yet musically, I try not to think about it at all, and I'll just sing the words that are coming out, and then instinctively when you hit on something that it just feels right. And when you hit on something it just feels really bad. So you just a lot of it, what Kojo was saying, you have to just release judgment of that. And Milan was saying it as well, just be willing to write something shit until, and it applies on the micro level as well. Be willing to write a shit lyric. Be willing to have a terrible melody that you would never sing out in public. It's almost irrelevant if you're looking at it in the process. So if I have some sort of a thread, I'll just follow that until I don't feel embarrassed that my cat is hearing me sing it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? If you do throw everything out there, it might not be shit, though, that's the thing.
I think a perspective, for me, something that helps is to record it and to listen back, because things sound different when you listen to it than when it's reverberating around your head, obviously. But also different instruments. Like, I'm a guitarist, so I often write melodies on guitar as well. Or yeah, even actually, because I play piano really badly, I like to go on that because I'm very much using my ears and not kind of falling into shapes, which guitarists often do. Yeah, they're my other little inputs.
That's great.
The recording is a great tool. Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that, because what I find is if I hit record and I just sort of let whatever fall out, I could do that for 10 minutes and then listen back, and I might not even have a lyric for like 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden one word will pop out. But it's moving so quickly that you have to just kind of let it all go through its process, whereas if you were sitting down and trying to write everything, you wouldn't necessarily be in that same flow. So sometimes I'll just press record and I'll just sort of let all of the ideas flow out, all of the melody ideas, random words, and then listen back, and then I'll write down, oh, I really like that line, I really like that, oh, when it goes up there, okay, that's a chorus, possible chorus, and then you can kind of jigsaw piece it back together.
Awesome. Thank you, team.
Just something I did last week, which is the first and only time I've ever done it, but it worked out really well. One of the pros of being in the studio and having a bunch of sessions, I was stuck on a melody for like a post-chorus thing for someone, and I knew I had another vocalist coming in for another session, so I made sure to queue up the song I was working on, and then when you walk through, I had my memos already going, and just was like, first melody that comes to your head, and he's just sung something as he walked in the door, and it's what has made on the track now. And I now plan to do that all the time.
That's so good. I love that.
I think that says a lot about taking the thought out of it, because you don't have time, you're just responding, and often we think our way out of really great ideas, or we think our way into really bad ideas. So if we can allow instinct to kind of guide us, it's usually better.
Yeah, and when he realised what I was doing, he was like, oh, let me go again. And the second and third and fourth and fifth times were nowhere near as good as just when he walked through the door as well. So that was, it was really great to kind of experience that in real time.
Do you want to share? Yeah?
Yeah,
I just saw you go like this.
what Kojo said.
Sorry.
No, the instinctual thing is really good. I feel like when I'm recording or trying to figure out a melody, I'm just sort of mumbling into my voice memos, like or doing whatever, and then I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's. But listening back, I'm always like, what is this?
Great.
But yeah, you kind of find your way through that, I think.
Such great ideas and tools and skills to share with everyone. Thank you. I want to move on to talking about co-writing and collaboration, which all of you have done. And we're all about to go into these sessions this afternoon, into these workshops, or maybe we've done co-writing before, maybe we haven't. For those in the room who haven't done a lot of co-writing or collaboration, which can feel daunting a bit sometimes, like songwriting is personal, performance is personal, what advice would you give for walking into a session with someone new who you don't know very well, or maybe you've never met before?
Spend a little bit of time getting to know each other. Just, asking some questions, getting to know, where each other is from and those kinds of things. Generally with me, if I'm working with someone, I go pretty deep pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because that's just how I roll. But yeah, it helps, I think, for your nervous system and your body just to kind of figure out each other, because, you do get quite vulnerable, and you wanting to set up that space, like Kojo said, where it doesn't matter if you make mistakes. And so it's good to be able to sort of set up that space to be like, hey, I'm safe, you're safe, let's have a safe time.
I think it's also important to know and be okay with that sometimes you won't have a great co-writing session, just like sometimes you won't have a great session with yourself writing a song, and it's actually okay. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to perform, in this space, but it's not actually about performing. It's not actually about the outcome. Yeah, sure, everyone wants to write a great song, and it's a win if you do that, But if you walk into a co-writing session, especially with somebody that you don't know, if you have the attitude of like, I'm here to meet someone, I'm here to enjoy myself, I'm here to create, I'm here to learn. And anything else that happens after that is like huge cherry on top. But I think if you walk in and you're like, and I have experienced this and it's horrible, you know, people walk in and like, we're here to make a hit. And like, you're just like, And you know, sometimes you will and sometimes you won't. But like, if you're setting that expectation of everybody in the room, I think it's just a huge block to feeling free and feeling like you can explore and be yourself in that space. So
I'd agree with that. I'll give you an example, and anyone that is coming along to my session later, I might play you, because you'll find this really interesting, the before and the after of this particular song. But the track that we've just been lucky enough to land for this NRL sync this year, I guess the message behind this song is, when you're songwriting, trust your own intuition and your own gut on things, because it's so important. And I remember initially writing this song in Nashville, and I was in a session with two amazing songwriters, and I knew we were onto something really special, but there was just the tagline at the end of the chorus, I just wasn't sold that was the hook. And initially the song was called Happenstance, right? And I'm like, Australians, are they going to understand what happenstance is, or is that memorable enough, or is the payoff there at the end of the chorus? And I didn't. I sort of mentioned it in the session, but I sort of got shut down. And the guy was like, no, everyone's going to love that. They'll love it here in America. And I just wasn't sold. And we left it, walked out with the demo, and I thought, this is great, but I think it could be better. And so don't be afraid if you ever write a song and you think, maybe I can revisit it and improve it. And that's exactly what we did. So I came back here, went into the studio again with the boys from M Squared, and Michael Painter was the first thing he said. He's like, I don't think that tag at the end of the chorus is good, is strong. And I said, I fucking agree with you, mate. I tried to say this in the session, and he said, well, let's the boys open to us reworking it. So I contacted them. They said, yeah, do it. And so we rewrote the chorus. I'll show you the before and the after. And we added this middle eight section, which is now the biggest hook of the whole song. And so, I guess the message behind that is, don't be afraid to go back, revisit things, make it better, change it, try different things until you find something that's going to work, and trust your gut. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. I guess just for some, little tips for everyone as well, or like just things to think about. Are there things that you like to be clear about beforehand? Like before you go into a co-write or any collaboration, you know, song splits, roles, ideas, expectation. Milan, I know that you do a lot of co-writing, a lot of collaboration. In fact, yeah, you all do, so anyone just jump in. But could you walk us through what that might look like before you go in? Or, do you set those things?
I'm trying to think now. I mean, what are we working on? But that can also be open. I mean, sometimes if I'm, getting together with like long-time collaborators, sometimes we're like, oh, let's just make something. And maybe at the end, someone's like, oh, I find a use for this. Or I'm like, I want to write for my project. So I kind of quite like when it's open like that. But yeah, sometimes obviously a bit more specific. Like I used to do more kind of sessions where, I'd come in as the songwriter or as the producer. So, and it's for the other artist's project. So that's like, I guess, having clarity of that. I mean, I guess maybe I feel like you could probably speak more to like the kind of Nashville splits thing, like everyone has equal split thing. I mean, I don't know. I don't really try to set that too much early. I don't know if that's like the best thing to say. I think it's kind of assumed it's kind of equal but I don't know. It gets pretty complicated when like, I don't know, some people have like 10 more people come in the track later, and then there's more songwriters, and then, you know, then you just hope that everyone is kind of kind and realistic and just going to carve it up nicely for everyone in terms of publishing splits and stuff. I don't know if I'm being very clear. But yeah, I don't find it's very easy to do in the beginning, and I definitely don't like to walk into... in the past, like I've had producers and stuff be like, oh yeah, if you want to do a session, it's this much. I just never reply to them again because I'm not going to pay to try something out personally. So they're the times that I wouldn't walk into the room if there's been like a precedent of some sort of payment prior. But that's pretty rare.
In terms of a collaboration co-write, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Anyone else?
I think it's important to have that stuff up front for me personally. I like to just know where I stand financially before I say yes or no to something. So what the expectations are. I really like the Nashville way of approaching it. Like if you're in the room and you're working on the song, it's an equal split. So that's kind of the philosophy that I go with. And then I don't think there's ever been a time where I've gone against that. I've literally done a co-write with one person, had another person lying on a hammock next to us that threw out one idea and he's got a third split on the song because it helped make the song what it was. So for me, that's the way I like to approach it. And the other thing that is really important to me is knowing why I'm doing it personally, because I think it's really easy to, you know, people are like, oh, go do a co-writing session, oh, collaborate with this person. And like, that's all really cool. It's really great to play and learn and create, but why? Why am I doing it? For what purpose for me am I doing this? Am I doing this to learn? Am I doing this because I'm writing a new album? Am I doing this because I want to meet that person? You know, so having clarity on that is really important just internally, and also knowing what my boundaries are. So I've reached the point in my songwriting where I know that I don't want to share lyrics. I want to write all the lyrics, every single word. I want to collaborate on the music. I need to collaborate on the music because it's not one of my biggest strengths. Lyric writing is my biggest strength. And so, and also it's such a personal thing for me that I don't want to have somebody else's lyrical input. And that's not because I don't think there's other incredible lyric writers. It's just I know what I'm doing with my own personal project, and that's what feels important to me. So I'm now looking for people who I can collaborate with musically, who are absolutely fine with me having full lyrical control. So knowing that up front for myself, so I know who I want to collaborate with and then what that looks like, and they can say yes or no to that, and that's up to them.
Interesting. I love this. So many great perspectives. Kojo, hello.
Hi.
I would love to know, I'd love to hear about your approach to collaboration. Your Citizen K album in 2023, So Where Are We?, was created largely through 10 days of fully improvised studio sessions involving a huge number of musicians and vocalists. I think there's like 13 musicians and 6 vocalists. I love how this album moves between styles and feelings and meaning like so cohesively and naturally, and I particularly love the transition to On Our Way and then into Follow My Love. I love that so much. Please, you've got to listen to this album. But also, I think that you've mentioned before that the idea of the album is that you're supposed to, like it's supposed to be on repeat, right? Firstly, how did it feel approaching a project in the way that you did like this compared to how you'd make music before? And what did it sort of unlock for you?
So this album completely changed how I'd make music from that point on. So for a bit of context, at that point I'd been kind of my full-time thing was Citizen K and touring and making my own music. And I'd been wrestling with how I felt about the art and the commerce for a very long time. The idea that to pay my bills I needed to make art, but then if the art isn't what I really want to make, I don't know, I was going back and forth with this thing for a while, and I'd been producing and mixing for a long time. And I was finding that creating music with and for other people was giving me the same feeling that I had when I first started, because I could just make the music with you and then you have to deal with all the other bullshit. And so before we did this particular album, I'd kind of decided that I was done doing Citizen K music. I didn't exactly tell my team, which was not the smartest thing. I kind of just left everyone on red for a long time. But at some point within that time, I don't know, I'd created with so many people, working with them for their music, and I'd be out to all these gigs and seeing all these incredible players. And at some point, I was just like, man, it'd be cool to just get in and just jam with a bunch of cool musicians. And so I literally just would go out to gigs and see like a great guitarist or like, trumpet player or something, being like, hey man, I've got this session booked, and I didn't at this time. We're going in the studio for 2 weeks, and we're just getting everyone to come in. You just come in, you plug in, and it's all just recording and going. And so after a few weeks of doing that, we ended up with 13 main people that were kind of in there for the whole 10 days. And then a few other people that would just literally come in and out, would plug in and just join the jam, essentially. The only parameter we set was that just come in and play. It wasn't being made to make an album. It wasn't being made to get released. It was literally just, I miss jamming, and I miss just making music without any idea that it has to be this product at the end. So that was great. It was the first time I've worked with that many people in that way, because no one really knew why we were there, which was kind of nice. And because of that as well, it allowed people to just do whatever. So we had like these crazy jazz nerds in there doing all the crazy chords, and I'm like the least theory person ever as well. So they're like arguing about these like, I don't know, whatever jazz people talk about. And then there was like the psychedelic rock guys who were like, just like bar chords and, power chords. And for whatever reason, just this weird group of people who'd never worked together and made completely different music, all just ended up in this space. And I remember at one point, it was the first day on the first jam. I'm like in the corner with my beat pad and my computer and mic, and there's all these like crazy musicians in front of me, and they're all looking at me like, so what are we doing? And I was like, I don't know. Someone start playing something? And yes, Foreman just started playing something, and we ended up doing this 90-minute jam on the first try. And if you listen to the album, it's what turned into the last song of the album. It's a 10-minute song at the end. Cutting it down from 90 minutes was the hardest thing ever. But yeah, that whole idea of just getting in and making something for the sake of making something with no agenda, just completely changed how I do everything ever since then. And then once we had all the jams, I just loved listening to the music, just like all the raw, jams went from anywhere from 20 minutes to that 90 minutes. And I just spent the next few months just actually putting my producer hat on then and going, okay, I've got all these samples and all these ideas, now what do I do with it? And this whole concept album idea came about, and once again, I didn't really know what I was doing or what I was working towards. It just felt interesting to me and it felt fun. And so we did this whole thing, the whole concept album came together, and then my initial idea was I'm just gonna do a listening party where I just show the people that I love and the people that are involved, and that was it. Like, it's not getting released. The world will never see it. It's just like a museum piece. Like, you come in and you see the painting, and then you walk out with the experience. You don't walk out with the painting. But then my team convinced me. Yeah, my team heard it, and they were really supportive and really loving about the whole thing. And they were like, if you don't want to release it, you don't have to release it. But they gassed me up. They made me feel pretty good about it. And we released, I'm really glad it's out in the world. But it just completely changed my idea of just why I'm making music, to be honest. It just took me back to just when I first started making music. And just, I was saying before, in the green room, just, making a sound or playing a chord or finding this melody and just being like, this is the greatest thing ever! Like, and just being so hyped about that. I just missed that. Yeah. So now, when we're talking about the parameters, as a producer and in the studio, one of the parameters that I do set is when working in that space and with me, all we care about is making the art. Once it's done and once we've finished making something, then let's talk about its purpose in the world. Let's talk about its product, its commerce, whatever else. What's going to happen to it. But we don't discuss that stuff beforehand. Yeah. And if you really do, we can. I just want to know that beforehand. But yeah, it's become kind of a thing. It's like when you're in that space, we just want to make the thing and then we'll work out where the thing belongs in the world.
Yeah. Love it. I think the idea of like taking yourself out of something that you're like that you would usually approach in a certain way, doing something completely different. You know, it's a risk, and you know, change is hard too. Once you know, when we get into a routine of doing something a certain way, but I love what that did for you. You know, in terms of like opening you into a new way of like making music. I can't believe that we've like almost run out of time, and I'm a bit mad about it because I'm loving talking to you all so much, and I'm trying to decide what question to ask last. Is it okay if I ask one more question and then we get like a question from the audience? Is that okay? I'll be quick, I promise. I guess I just really wanted to ask about like communities and mentorship, and I really love how our local music communities and the people who are like directly around us, especially as we're emerging as songwriters, performers, producers, music people, can inspire us and our writing styles. And I'd love to know if any of you like have some examples of how this may have impacted you either early in your career or throughout, whether it be skill sharing, co-writing, shared experience, growth. Like, what did that community around you support? How did you build it? How did it happen? Yeah. Like Milan, you've done a lot of, in fact, everyone's done mentoring. So yeah, how does that sit?
Well, regardless of the mentoring, because it's kind of later on, I mean, community is everything, right? It's like, what are we doing this for? What are we making music for if it isn't something to do with community, unless you really want to sit and by yourself in a room forever, which, you know, that's up to you, but I don't want to do that. And I think that's like the most important thing to remember, because no matter what like happens with your, you know, your career and whatever, you know, and getting, you know, injected into the industry, if you lose touch with your community and your roots and, you know, the people that have inspired you or the stories that have inspired you, they don't even have to inspire you musically, in that sense. Then, yeah, like, then what is it for? I guess, like, I feel like that's something to be cautious of, I think. And so for me, I mean, how I've cut my, what's the word? Cut my ropes? That's not the saying. Teeth. Something about teeth?
Is it something about teeth?
Anyway, how I flossed my teeth or something.
That's the one.
Let's go with that. Was just being thrown in the deep end, like being a guitarist in lots of different bands in the like Sydney scene, total different genres, jazz, like Latin, rock, whatever. And also, I think that variety, not everyone wants to be in lots of different communities, but for me, that was really important as well. It was my school for the most part, so that's my answer to the community thing.
Thank you.
I don't know if I answered the question, but okay.
No, it was great. I think being a part of it, right? And
be a part of it.
Be a part of it.
Be a part of it. We're all here. We're all part of it now.
I think we have time for one question from the audience. You put your hand up first. Hello.
I just wanted to ask, obviously, from my, like, I've been writing for quite a long time, but I still haven't gotten into, thank you. I've been writing for quite a long time, but I haven't been able to kind of dedicate or dive into recording and producing. And I guess I just wanted to understand, when you guys dove into that domain where you were able to kind of get your ideas onto, you know, a platform and create your music, how did that kind of shape your career? And did you feel like you were able to kind of get your ideas out in a different way? I don't know if that was a good question.
Yeah, I'm happy to start with that one. I'm big on, you know, letting go and doing the thing and detaching and doing the next thing and just continuing to move forward. For me, releasing was a great way to do that. It's like once it's out, it's no longer your thing anymore and it belongs to the world and you no longer can protect it. And And that's really helpful for just moving on to the next thing. I think before you do that, it's easy to just sit with the same idea forever and be like, as long as I've got it, it's good. But yeah, releasing it, I'm a big fan of just like put it out there. Even if it's not this big show about releasing and just putting it out there so you can move on, I'm always big with that.
I think for me, momentum has always been really important. Like starting to record my own work, I didn't know what I was doing when I started off, and that's okay. And then in the next record, I knew a little bit more, and in the next record, I knew a little bit more. And I think that the way that we grow as artists and as humans is by just putting one step in front of another. So I don't think that we need to attach quite so strongly as we do to recording and releasing so that we can like get there, wherever that there is in the music industry, you know, like so that we can build our careers and make it happen and get big or whatever it is. Like, I don't know what the fuck we're all supposed to be doing. Like, I actually think, and this is coming from someone, like, this is my job, this is my business, this is what I do for a living. And I think it's bullshit. I think the whole, like, I think the whole concept of like, oh, you know, write and record and release so that you can, is like, no, like, so that you can take the next step now in this moment. And we don't need to think about what that might mean. We can have a vision or we can have a plan for like 5, 10, 15 years. But for me, what I'm always focusing on is like exactly what, I think Kojo said it, like what is interesting and what feels fun. And like, if we can do that again and again and over again, and we trust that process, we're just going to grow inevitably. Like there's no choice but to grow through that and for great things to happen through that because we're following that instinct of creativity. So I'm all for doing it. I'm all for writing, recording, releasing, producing, but not at the cost of your own mental health, not at the cost of, you know, not at huge financial costs. Do it in a way that feels really personally and financially sustainable, and trust that it's a long-term process that you're signing up for, and it's a growth journey. I used the word journey.
No, I love journey. I think that's a really beautiful spot to finish. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for that great question. I'm going to get in trouble because I'm going way over time. Before we break, can we please just give a massive round of applause for these amazing people and all of their insights that they just shared? Oh my goodness.